Money, and more specifically currency, is such an interesting concept when you think about it. Making an entire population of people agree on the value of paper that can be printed and reprinted so easily is incredible in and of itself. People dictate the money's value, yet some of us have our whole lives run by these very same pieces of paper. Hello audience and welcome to Yvern's Box. Today we'll be looking at C, the money of the soul and possibility control, otherwise known as C for control, or even simply C, an 11 episode long 2011 anime series by the relatively unknown Tatsunoko production, bringing world events, economic theories, and the boundaries of black and white together into a single anime sounds impossible, yet C arguably pulls it off. In C's setting, Japan has fallen into a state of economic uncertainty, with incredibly high unemployment, crime, and suicide rates not helping. People are living in quasi-despair, facing uncertainty every day, yet life simply goes on because it has to. So the story follows Kamimuro, a 19-year-old economics university student, I know right, it's not a high school student, who spends his day alternating between school and work. He has a very humble dream of getting a stable job and starting a family that he can live with happily and without financial worries. One night, however, he suddenly gets pulled into the financial district, which, to sum it up, is the true form of the country's economy. Here he gets forced into becoming an entree, short for entrepreneur, who can enrich himself through battles with other entrees using their assets, physical representation of the entree's fortune. Think Pokemon but with money. Well, technically more like Digimon, but whatever. The downside is that this financial district holds your future as collateral, meaning that if you go bankrupt through these same battles, your future becomes bleak. What happens differs from person to person, but overall, it just takes out all the things that made you want to live. Now, C's setting is in one word, incredible. Few animes even come close to C when it comes to the overarching theme or premise. C not only takes a look at some incredibly interesting economical issues, but also deals with current world events in a way that few other animes have before. It presents a world that is both fascinating through the financial district and realistic through the rest of the setting. It even mentions historical events that helps increase its believability. All this while showing us a story of what is the true way to save a dying economy, through reassuring consumers and the population, or through injecting more money. Is it more important to save the world of today by forsaking our future, or should we strive to create a future for this same world by ignoring issues at hand? This is an anime with fantastic ideas, thought-provoking elements, stunning plot twists, and a one-of-a-kind setting. Yet, it still has so many flaws. As incredible of a setting this is, we really see so little of it, and that all comes down to the length of this anime. I had no idea why Tatsunoko decided on an 11-episode series. I mean, sure, it's 2011, but why? People should have realized this by now. 11 episodes is in no way able to tell a complete and moving story. Most of the time was used on world building, presenting us the most possibly dark yet not atrocious future for Japan. But then we have so little time put into this fascinating financial district. We get a good idea of how it works, but never is it fully explained until completely necessary for the story to make sense. The battles between the entrees and their respective assets concluded almost always within minutes, which is a real bummer considering how fantastic the few battles looked. Drama and romance were also attempted to be squeezed in, but as you can guess, there really isn't any time for it in those mere 11 episodes, meaning we have half-baked versions of potentially great story elements. With all its flaws though, I can't help but love the story. Colliding so many different interesting themes and elements takes skill and time, and while time was not there, skill certainly was. Character-wise, C has very little to offer. It presents us a few interesting people who have their own unique flair or thing that makes them stand out, but on average the characters are pretty subpar. There are some good ones though, with that being the main male character, female character, and the antagonist. The rest of the characters felt extremely one-sided and plain, and I don't believe that this is the fault of shoddy writing, but instead the overarching problem of the short length of the series itself. Since I've already talked a little bit about the main character, I'll only add on that he is actually a pretty interesting character in the way that he does hesitate to take action, but not in the way that you might expect. Instead of worrying whether he'll get hurt or not, he struggles to find the right path that he must take to save the world, and I believe that we should at least acknowledge him for that. The main female character is one of those characters that come to the world with no knowledge, sort of like in Chobits or Elfen Lied. Little by little she comes to understand the world around her and eventually even falls in love with, well, you can guess who. The main antagonist of the series is another entree, who initially guides and teaches our main character in the world of the financial district. However, his belief is that it is best to save the present at all costs, since without the present, there is no future. Now, he provides an interesting point of view on a rather complex subject, and although he is the villain of the show, some might see his opinions as the righteous way. Considering how little the series had to work with, the characters are actually pretty good. Seek for Control is really pretty. It uses its colors masterfully, putting out bright colors for lighter tone moments and using black and white shading gracefully for darker parts of the show. There is actually an incredible amount of detail put into every little thing, and maybe because there are only 11 episodes, the people behind Seek for Control really put in all of their effort into this. The opening is one of the most visually stunning that I have ever seen, breaking away from the mold in a way that is fantastic. The ending is a good counterpart to its opening, featuring equally fantastic visuals yet in a different tone. The music was pretty good, and although I did not find it exceptional, they did fit the anime well. The only real thing that bothered me during the show were the character designs. Something about it really ticked me in a way that is hard to explain. Maybe because I'm used to a certain type of character design, this somehow rubbed me the wrong way. It's not that the characters were ugly, because they weren't, but anyway, Seek for Control is actually really good looking in a way that surprised me, but might also surprise you. Yet again, we find ourselves with an anime that gets ruined by a single element, a single small factor that clogs the system. Seek for Control was a piece of work that could have been so much more, yet fell short for a reason or another. It's a pity, but still a wonderful work that deserves to be checked out. As a result, by adding up the scores I handed to Seek for Control for story, character, and aesthetics, we end up with an overall score of 75.24%. A very solid score in my opinion, and I really do recommend that you check it out. Thank you all for watching my review of the anime known as C, The Money of the Soul and Possibility Control. I hope you enjoyed this review, and if you did, please leave a like or subscribe, since that goes a long way in motivating me to make more content. I do reviews like these every Saturday, and I'm still trying to balance things out, so expect more from me sooner or later. Anyway guys, thank you all for watching. This has been Yvern and my boss.